Hi, Christy here. Today I am in my Akashic records and I want to explore some aspects of bravery. This week I took a workshop called Be Braver Together, which was inspired by Marianne, I think it's Marianne, no, I'm not sure, Buddy, who was I don't even know what to call her, pastor who delivered the inaugural sermon when our US president was inaugurated in 2025. And she was very brave. And this course, this webinar, which was 3 hours I attended this week, they talked about different types of bravery. And I've got a little graphic here and I'm going to read, well, I'll tell you the different types. Physical bravery, ethical moral bravery, social bravery, intellectual bravery, and emotional bravery. So the definition of the intellectual bravery, I've never heard of this before. I thought was super cool. Being willing to challenge our own beliefs, to change our minds, to seek out new information and perspectives. And I thought this would be fascinating to look at in the records, because how do we end up stuck in something that sort of ends up being calcified, a permanent belief, a permanent idea? And I use myself as an example. I tried to I had my ears pierced when I was in high school and they never healed. I had to go off to a geology course in Montana. Another story, but I was going to be out in the field and it was going to be dirty and it was going to be exposed to the elements. And I just let them grow closed because I knew I couldn't take care of them. This was a few months after I got them pierced because they still hadn't healed. And so my whole life I have said to myself, I'm not a person who can have pierced ears. And I went recently to a jewelry shop and they said, why don't you try again? I mean, it's a long story for how I got there, but it's like, oh yeah, why don't I try again? That idea of who I am, which was like fixed, set in stone, permanent, like forever. There was this weird little opening where I said, oh, at the moment I was like, yeah, I can't do that. I have sensitive skin. Like I had my usual stories came up and yet somehow it got through. So I thought it would be interesting here in the records to try to look at how do the little air holes happen? How do you get that little moment of, oh, there is another option. There is something else possible. And it's not all permanent. So I'm just going to poke around in my own records here a little bit and see. So I'm sure I've said a bazillion times, we look at 5 causes and conditions for things in the records. Past lives, ancestral patterns, environment, family of origin, and childhood. And in this case, it happens to be related to my childhood, which is interesting. That's when I got my ears pierced. And it's also when I used to have a lot more skin issues than I do now in terms of sensitivities, in terms of, I had some acne, as a teenager, but I also had these sensitivities to different materials and so on. I still have I don't want wool directly. This does have some wool, but I don't like to have itchy wool. And I have some tactile kind of issues, but also this belief that who I am now is the same as who I was then, which is interesting. It's very efficient. They're reminding me, it's very efficient for us to narrow down our beliefs, so sort of make them solid so we don't have to revisit them and spend any energy on them. Just like how we have habits, I don't have to think about every tooth I'm brushing because I've done it so many times. So this, I can't have pierced ears, this was just like this categorical, permanent thing I could just file and not have to think about. Now I'm like, oh, where should I get my ears pierced? Because I'm going to do it. Where should I get my ears pierced? What kind of earrings should I get? Suddenly energy is going toward this that haven't gone toward this in over 40 years. So I want to also see in here, how can we sort of deliberately open up space without revisiting everything? Oh, my favorite color is this. Is it? Oh, my favorite food or whatever. Not wasting effort, but perhaps opening it strategically in places where it might benefit us. So I'm just going to do a little poking around to see what this looks like. All right, well, I mean, not surprising, not surprising. They're really going on about curiosity. You know, the old, is this true? Or is this still true? Or does this have to be something I believe forever? And perhaps there's a way in which we can notice the rules, the laws, the things that are fixed, the things that we take and assume that they're always true. Even looking at the government of the United States, there are certain assumptions we've made because historically they've been true, and now a lot of those things are getting blown up. I'll just say that. And so these things are no longer true, and we're having to update our awarenesses. So sometimes these openings happen in a disruptive, chaotic way, but sometimes they can happen through the gentleness of, is that true? Is that really true? Does it have to stay true? You know, I often have people come to me for Akashic Records readings, and they'll say something about themselves. You know, I'm not good with money, or math's not my strength, or I have real tech challenges, or whatever. And it becomes sort of an identity. And is it true? Is it an absolutely true thing? And, you know, one of my sort of obsessive things is that I believe anybody can learn to be good at math. They just have to be taught in a way that works for them. I'm getting like teary, kind of emotional. That to me, it's sad that people are told, like, you're not an artist, or you're not musical, or you can't do math, and then we can absorb those as our own when often they're just projections, perhaps, or people wanting to help you avoid feelings, certain uncomfortable feelings, perhaps, to be able to ask if that's true or not. I think it's powerful. I mean, I do think we use it as some level of protection. You know, I'm just not good at math, so I'm not going to even try. Or I'm just not good at tech, so I'm just not going to try. But if we give ourselves room, and also they're prompting me, yet. I'm not good at math yet. I'm not good at tech yet. I'm not good at whatever, you know. My introversion interferes with my socialization now. But that doesn't mean, you know, you could use that as an example, but it doesn't have to forever. Like, we are more fluid than we sometimes like to believe. And of course, growth and evolution is part of that fluidity. Becoming more and more of who we are through expressing parts that are unexpressed. Just like when we admire someone who has certain skills and gifts we wish we had, we probably possess those already, and we just haven't stepped into them. All right, plenty more different types of bravery. I don't know if I'll do a video for each one, but it was a very cool thing to attend. There were only 4 of us. There was the facilitator and 3 people. They normally have up to 12. And I guess because it's before the holidays, there were supposed to be 9 people there and only 3 of us showed up. And which I didn't mind because it gave us plenty of airtime, and we also got to know each other a little bit better. I'll put in the link below a reference to that if you wish to do something similar. It took me like 2.5 months to get in. They're very crowded. And there are a bunch of different facilitators. You don't get to choose who your person will be. All right. I'd love to hear in the comments below what you think of intellectual bravery, being willing to challenge your own beliefs, change your minds, and seek out new information and perspectives. Are you intellectually brave? I'd love to hear in the comments below. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and in the meantime, please go be brilliant.